Neon Ballroom is the third studio album by Australian alternative rock band Silverchair, released in 1999. Tracks Anthem for the Year 2000 and a song Open Fire, Miss You Love, Paint and Paint Pastel Princess were released as singles, and a short film was released for the song Emotion Sickness. Neon Ballroom debuted at number 1 on the Australian album charts, peaked at number 50 on the US Billboard chart. That's no good. The album was nominated for 10 ARIA awards and was certified triple platinum by the ARIA for selling over 210,000 copies in Australia. I feel like this bombed around the world, but did okay in Australia. The album has been described as heavy rock with orchestral flourishes and synthetic touches with powerfully emotional lyrics that reflect the personal demons of frontman Daniel Johns due to the band's rapid international success. In 1999, Johns announced that he had developed the eating disorder anorexia nervosa due to anxiety. Johns noted that the lyrics to Anna's song dealt with this disorder. He revealed his eating problems developed from the time of Freak Show, and when Neon Ballroom was written, he hated music, really everything about it, but felt that he couldn't stop doing it. I felt like a slave to it. John sought therapy and medication, but felt it's easier for me to express it through music and lyrics. They approached this album differently. He wrote 112 poems, made a collage of the poems, and turned the words that meant the most to him into songs. And he wrote the music around the words rather than the other way around. Ben Giles said in a year off, he turned into a hermit, and he didn't see him that much when he was talking about Johns. I didn't really think about the writing. I was just thinking about having a good time. I did have a hand in 2 songs, though. Spawn Again for the Spawn soundtrack, and Trash, which is a heavy, punky one, and it didn't make the album. He's trying to be more involved in the writing on the next album, which, no, he wasn't involved in the writing on the next album. Electric Music Online gave the album 91%. And a positive review. Yada, yada, yada. All right. What did you think?
Me? Is it my turn?
Yeah. Did I talk a long time?
That's quite all right. There's a lot of wiki. Yeah. Neon Ballroom, man. I dig it. 99. Anything that came out in 99. It's amazing.
Every album we choose came out from 1999.
Give me a 99. Yeah, man. This is one of the 5 I took to Europe. You know how when we did Pearl Jam's Verses, that was one of the 5 I took with me. CDs back in the day. This is one of them. Hit me in my last year of high school. So loving it. It was like this album and Chili Peppers' Californication. It's great stuff. Great stuff.
This is one of your special albums you really, really love, or?
This, yep, absolutely. I put this on anytime and dig it. And as I get older, some of it gets a bit super cheese. Like Anthem for the Year 2000 is a tough listen now, but I guess it always was kind of cheesy. But no, full of great tracks. Emotion Sickness is genius. Come on, you have to admit it's a good track.
Am I talking?
The opening song, Daniel. The opening song.
Well, it's a good opener. The way I feel about this album is it starts off okay. I'm listening. Anthem for the Year 2000. Okay, I'm listening. I think I enjoyed it a lot more when it first came out, but it's only all right now. It's good. It's good. And then progressively from there, each song just gets worse and worse till the end.
I
didn't
give
have a
you
very
that.
good time.
I give you that. Like, it definitely, like, even at the time when it came out, I put it on, and the opening track's a banger. I think it does sort of set the stage for emotional post-grunge, late teen, you know, dude. But yeah, it runs out of steam. It's like they had, here's our strongest tracks. Let's cram them at the front of the album. And then we need a bunch of filler and old songs we wrote years ago to pad it out. I mean, there's still like,
I think it was all written for the album.
no,
Sounds
I
like
think
they
there's a
started
couple of
with
old
nothing.
ones.
Was
Yeah,
it?
like that Spawn Again song, they wrote that in 96 or something. So that was 3 years old. And there was another one that was rewritten, something about his spine. I can't remember the name of the track now. Do you feel the same anyway? Is what he keeps singing.
Oh
No,
yeah, yeah. It's called
it's like
"Do You
track.
Feel the Same."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, pretty
That was
repetitive.
an older one as well.
It's
But I
when you
feel
get to
like,
the end of the album, and he goes, "Steam will rise,
mhm.
steam will rise, steam will rise, steam." I'm just, God damn it.
Yeah, he's gone. But I mean, if we jump away from this album and we go to Silverchair when they started, Tomorrow and Frog Stomp and all that sort of stuff, I remember picking on anybody at high school that was listening to it. I was like, "What are you doing?" They're our age, 14-year-olds. They suck. Blah 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 blah. And then it was, maybe a year later or 2 years later, I was like, "Damn it, this is a catchy song." They put out some other single, Shade or whatever. And then I slowly got into the album. Damn it, I'm one of those guys. I hated on it. Now I'm getting into it. And then they put out their the second album, Freak Show, and I really liked that one too. I was like, oh, this is some, it was kind of like heavy rock or grunge, but it was dudes my age. It wasn't the Cobains were older than me, you know, and so I was like, oh, this is a guy who's writing the same age as me. He's writing music. I like music. He's writing music that I like about things that I like. Oh, he's angry too. I'm angry too. And so I liked it, and it was, I knew it wasn't the Beatles or the Stones or anything, but it was good, and it was, you'd almost call it local because it's Australia. And then Neon Ballroom came out, 99. It was good. I liked it. I remember the anthem for the year 2000 coming out as the lead single, and I thought, oh, it's not as good as Freak Show, because it was kind of one of those. It was made to play in a stadium and everybody stomping their feet and we are the youth. I was like, but then the additional singles like Anna's Song, I still dig that. Anytime it comes on the radio or it comes on in my shuffle, that song's playing through. I like that song. Go, Dan.
They were a wonderful Cinderella story. I bought the first two albums. I really loved Israel's Son on their first album. It's a great song. I used to crank that all the time. Yeah, and I thought, what was the big hit that set them off?
Tomorrow,
yeah. I liked it. It was pretty good. It was a good song. It didn't really drive me wild, but I did like the album. I like the first two albums. People who don't know, they were like 14 years old. They won a record deal and had this huge success, and they were touring with Soundgarden and things like that, weren't they? When they were just 14, big tours. It was a great story. It's the Cinderella story. It was like, wow, when you're a young musician and you hear these 14-year-olds got this record deal and they're like doing it, it was amazing. Really happy for them.
They did big shows, man. They went around Europe and did all the music festivals and stuff off that first album, and it was, big bucks too. Sold millions of copies, all off, like, I think they entered a radio competition with Tomorrow, their demo version, and they won the right to record it, and then it got released as a single, and then away it went. And to be 14 and do that, that's pretty epic.
Yeah. And then so I was into it, and then I remember I think the first thing I saw was Anna's song on TV from this album.
Mm.
And I remember watching the video and thinking to myself, this band's done. I was like, that song did not work for me.
Mm.
It felt like the lyrics didn't fit into the syllables didn't fit into the lines, the musical
Mm.
lines, and it was rushing words. I hear that all over the place on this album. Things like open fire on the needs desire.
Mm.
You have needs and wants. You need shelter and food. You would want a vacation, and these open fire the needs. So your need has a want. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand what you're talking about,
Hey,
and it's things
it's
like
deep.
every line rhymes. Like I'm surprised he said this is a collage of poems, because every lyric feels like it rhymes at the end of every line, like home, alone, phone. And when he runs out of words, he uses a really unnatural word like a bore.
Mm.
Like it's natural language, and then he uses a word like a bore, which would not be the word he would be using, but it
Yeah, but
kind
I
of
mean,
fits.
in response to that, if you take any, I mean, he would have been 18 writing these, any 18-year-old's poems, they're going to be shit and lovelorn, and there's going to be an amount of cringe to it, right? Or if you look at,
Yeah.
a song you wrote back in the day is not going to be as good compared to what you think is a song now. So these guys were like on a world stage at that age, putting all that stuff out. You had to put out the crap to millions. So I forgive him for having some corny lyrics, I suppose. I mean, even you think about, the Beatles, right? Early days was "She Loves You" and "I Want to Hold Your Hand" and real simple
Mm.
stuff. That was when they were in the early 20s, and then they moved on later when they were, well, they're probably only just cracking 30, the Beatles, when they broke up. But that's when Something and, all the real lyrical shit hit the fan, as they say, and it got real good. So, but in saying that, if you
They're
take Daniel
charging full
Johns,
price for an album, though, aren't they? They're not charging kiddie prices.
that's right. That's right. But Daniel Johns, I will admit, the further into Silverchair you go, the worse the lyrics and singing style goes. So for me, albums 1, 2, 3. So Frog Stomp, Freak Show, Neon Ballroom. I dig them all. I think they'd be, yeah, they're all classic albums for me. And then Diorama, which came after, which is often voted their best album. I call horseshit on that because it's real, like it goes Broadway almost. Have you ever heard that album? It's next
No.
level. Yeah, next level twee might be the right word. I don't know. But that was, how any band develops. Every band wants to be, go through their different phases and become better and better. I think Silverchair had their best days when it was three guys making noise. And then they went full orchestral and harps and flutes, and it lost
Yeah.
me there.
It's listening to this album. I listen to it nearly every day all week, and a couple times on a couple days. And I was ready to go hammer and tongs on this album and just attack it. But I watched the making of the studio album, making of the album. It's about 25 minutes on YouTube there. They seem like lovely boys in such a strange situation with all the pressure. And they just seem like lovely, nice guys just doing their thing. And it melts the heart. You're like, oh, isn't it nice? And you forget how young they are. From his voice, you can't really tell how young he is, they're babies in this. They were babies. And melted my little heart a bit. But yeah, judging it as an album. The thing I find is it feels like maybe when they started off, they didn't have that much musical theory and ability. And somewhere along the line, they decided we got to get good at this. And so they learnt their musical theory. And I can hear diminished chords and augmented chords, and I can hear borrowed chords from parallel keys and all sorts of real music, songwriting stuff, more complex stuff. But I feel it's overused to compensate and to like the song goes together. It's got all this technical stuff, but it's not a great song. And then they've brought in orchestras to just fill in every blank spot.
Yeah, sure.
And kind of overstuff it.
Yeah, I wonder what the record would be like if it was just they took those same songs and just did it like they used to, a couple of overdub guitars, bass and drums, whether it would still work or whether it needs all the orchestra. Like Emotion Sickness, I think needs the orchestra. That's the punch, like it rips into it.
That feels like the most natural flowing song.
Yeah. Anthem for the year 2000 should just be, grunge production, simple. Even Anna's song could be think of it like a Nirvana's Polly or, something, real simple, almost poorly recorded would sound good. And then all the other tracks, as you say, when it goes, as the album sort of carries on and loses a lot of its momentum, those tracks might have benefited from just a bit more rawness, even in the vocals. It's almost too polished.
It gets very melancholy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It really feels like you're reading the diary of a 13-year-old girl who's texting mean tweets about capitalism on her $1,000 phone and drinking Starbucks.
I think this was his last. I think every band gets their last when they're in it album, before they become rich fat cats and can no longer relate to the people that are buying their albums. Take any grunge band, I'll throw Pearl Jam at you, who their early albums are great because they've got a fire in their belly because they've got no money and music's everything. And then I've got $400 million in the bank and I've got to sing about, having dirty shoes or something. I don't know, it just doesn't relate. And I think for Silverchair, their first two albums, they were 14 and 16. And then on this one, they're 18, 19. It's still their reality. Obviously, he's singing about, for the most part, his fucking eating disorder is almost the entire album and the ups and downs of what fame brought this kid. And so it's still legit. And then after it, beyond that, he goes down this, like I said, diorama's a bit too, I'm a musician now and I'm going to do this with Dick Van Parks from, who worked with the Beach Boys. And it just doesn't. Yeah. And now he's I don't know where he's gone now. He's got tattoos all over his face and neck and doing hip hop albums, I think. So
does he?
Yeah. Daniel Johns.
Yeah. He said he hated music when he was writing this. It feels like he hates music. I listen to it.
Well, what I'd struggle with as being him is, you take any recording you did when you were 14, right? And put that on a world stage and millions of people listen to it and love it. But when you go and listen to it, all you're hearing is a little 14-year-old you, and it would be horrible to listen to. And so to have to keep, I guess it's made you millions of dollars, so maybe it's a bit different. But you know how cringy looking back at your old stuff can be?
Everything I've done is magical, Brad.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's the world's fault I'm not a huge success.
Plug Well Hard. Can you find that on Spotify anymore?
I don't think it was ever on Spotify.
Every
song more genius than the next. I don't know how I
masterpiece in the moment.
Masterpieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
But
Neon Ballroom.
they got
Would you
that David Helfgott on here to play.
again?
Remember
He's
that
on
movie
emotion sick.
Shine?
Shine. Yeah. He's like I can't remember what was wrong with him, but there's something wrong with him. He's a pianist, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and he plays on it. Had him in the studio hugging everybody and sniffing everyone and giving them kisses.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the whole album almost in one song. They could have just made a pretty sweet 6-song EP and gone, great, now we're going on a hiatus and then come back at it. But they kind of, I don't know, maybe they were trying to get out of a record deal or something. I think they were with Sony Music, and after this one they bailed and went with Atlantic or something.
Their song Spawn Again was written for the Spawn soundtrack. It didn't get on the Spawn soundtrack. They did it.
Yeah, it's just called I think it's called Spawn, but it's like remixed with it's a hip hop collaboration.
So I had the Spawn soundtrack. I remember loving that album. It was great.
You love Silverchair.
I love Marilyn Manson had a great track on that. The long hard road out of hell. That was amazing.
Never heard it.
Brilliant song. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't recognize the song from it. It's been a while.
Oh, I think it's they re-recorded it or something. It's completely different. I think on that album it was almost like a techno rock thing. Yeah. Would you, after listening to this album for this, put it on again in the future? Or are you like,
no, I'd never listen to this again.
So kind of like with me and Mr. Bungle. Perfect. Skippability. Let's get on to that. How many tracks would you skip?
I got Emotion Sickness is borderline. Anthem for the year 2000, decent. And then every other song I've put filler.
All right. Well, before my list goes down, like if I'm mowing the lawns and I put this on, I'm going to listen like start at the start. I love Emotion Sickness. I think that's a fucking banger of a song. Same with Anna's song, classics. Born Again, I go, but I'm not going to reach for the skip button. Miss You Love, it's good. And then you're right. Like from there, it's a pretty, you got 5 tracks, which I think, again, that's solid EP and then a lot of meh. So from 6 to 12, you know, I'll leave them on and listen to them if I'm in a Silverchair mood, but I'm not like, yeah, they're not complete bangers, are they? So I'm going to be brutal. I'll probably only give this I'm skipping 6 of them. You know, that's a lot. That's half the album.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 songs. You're skipping half of it.
And again, this is weird, right? Because this is an album that I class as being part of what makes up Little Brad, right? This is like a big album. But then I'm skipping 6 of the songs, you know? 6 of the songs aren't really ripping. So, hey, it is what it is.
So you bought the album. It was a lot of money to you at the time, and you decided just to keep listening to it.
No, I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember purchasing it. I don't remember like seeing it on the shelf or where I got it from. I'm trying to think, like, did I pour over the cover or the liner notes? I don't imagine I did. I remember doing that for Freak Show. That was a pretty sweet little album package. But no memories on this one. I remember just looking at Rolling Stone magazine, like the Australian version. They were all, you know, they're going to be on the cover, and they had a big article. And I remember reading that, being, oh yes, Daniel Johns, but he was so fucking skinny. He was like a little twig boy,
looked like a vampire.
Yeah.
It's all white, and sunken cheeks. And
do you think he'd sparkle if he stood in the sun?
Oh, no doubt. He's a beautiful man. Beautiful man.
Beautiful man. Yeah, look, I'd still rate it well produced. Everything sounds solid. Guitars sound meaty, drums sound meaty, bass is there. But yeah, I just think that those end tracks, those 6 that I'm bailing on, if they were just less produced and a bit rough around the edges, I think I'd be all right with
it. Is it when you listen to this? Did you think, oh, it's kind of they're running out of steam, or were you still holding on to the Silverchair dream at the time? You're like, oh yeah,
was I thinking?
Album. Yeah,
I was thinking the steam will rise, or are they running out of steam?
So poetic.
No,
I mean, the imagery that evokes, it makes me think of almost nothing.
Makes you think of a cup of tea, kettle's boiling.
It's a pretty patu end to an album, isn't it? Like,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a song. Steam will rise. When I listen to it as a closer, it needs to build and go somewhere, and you feel there's that section in the song in the middle where you feel, yeah, this is going to build down, 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 and they're going somewhere, and then it just goes bloop and drops back down to steam will rise, and it's gone. Like it could have been. Like maybe like a 10 minutes worth of solos, like Pink Floyd that shit up or something, and they didn't. That's what it needed. I forgot my point. Yep, Neon Ballroom. It's a flickering light above a bar, and you might be enticed in, but you might not want to stay in the bar for very long.
I was looking at other people giving this reviews, and it's all really. I love this album. I kind of feel like maybe people loved it at the time, but haven't listened to it in a while. And if they went back, they'd be like, it was a product of the moment, maybe, for a lot of people.
Oh, I 100% agree with what you've just said then, because talking about it. So this, I'm like, I've always rated this album super high. It's great. And then now talking about it, I'm like, yeah, but it's only 6 out of 12 songs. But it is... like end of high school, any albums you were listening to in there, no matter how crap it was, are going to be part of your psyche, right?
Yeah. I think they should put a trigger warning on Anthem for the year 2000. So remind people that this was written in 1999 and people didn't implicitly trust everything the government said then, and they didn't trust mega corporations. Like, we were cavemen back then. We didn't know what we're talking about.
We were worried about the calendars changing on computers and everything stopping.
We were cavemen. So Cat's Meows, what do you reckon?
Out of 10? Look, I give it a 7 or an 8, maybe like a 7 and a scratch, 8 and a scratch. So it's like 8, but not quite 8. You know what I mean?
7 and half of it you would throw out, and you're still going to give it an above average rating.
Again, because of that nostalgia connection, doing it.
Is it Daniel Johns' dreamy blue eyes?
Are they blue? I don't know.
I don't know. His vampire shininess, you're going to give it a couple extra points.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's just out of me being stubborn, not accepting that an album that I liked from my teen years is not any good anymore.
For me, I was going to give it 1 Cat's Meow out of 10.
Oh, ouch.
But having watched the documentary and they seem like nice boys, 2 Cat's Meows.
Oh, excellent.
I feel like the cat just walked in, threw up on the carpet, and walked out again.
Perfect.
That's what this album is to me.
One day we'll find an album that we both like.
We kind of like the Shins. We agreed on the Shins.
Well, we did. Well, we were mediocre about the Shins. Did we really? We were like 10 out of 10, both of us.
I think we were like, it didn't suck. It's pretty good.
Hey, that's a great review. It's pretty good. Doesn't suck. Good enough.
Slow and steady wins the race. You know what I mean? Like nothing to complain about, but nothing too amazing, but nothing to complain about.
Yeah.
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 Oh, well.
Sweet. Until next time, keep on trucking.
Thanks for listening to Pointless and Confused. We believe there's a little thing where you can send a tip if you want. We have no idea how it works.
We need cash.
Yeah. For whores.
And Vegemite.
Yeah. And what
Good day.
No.
Oh,
I've got to tell them the other thing.
Oh, what was the other thing?
Subscription.
Look, you could subscribe if you want to hear the sound of our sweet, sweet voices in your ear. Whenever a new episode drops, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, we're not sure how you do that either, but you'll figure it out.
We're new to this. Come on, you guys.